6, the Chief Executive's report.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to highlight some of the key points, and I have my colleagues here to answer the more difficult questions for me. So just noting that operation results continue to improve. Operational expenditure year to date is well under budget. Revenue and funding year to date is favourable and forecast to be higher than budget, so that after carry forward, the operational results are forecast to be about 37 million better than budget. We have capital and expenditure, you will have noted in the report, is updated to align with the draft 16-17 annual plan, but is still well under budget. We have level of services with our Category 1 level of services hitting about 90% of the targets, Category 2 at about 78% of the targets, and 3 and 4 at about 90% of the targets as well. Some of the other key highlights are we have for the month 760 consents, all processed within the 90-day target, which means that since 1 July there are about 7,200 consents, which represents about $2.5 billion worth of construction. We have contact centre averaging about 45,000 calls a month. So that's a significant amount of calls coming into the organisation and being actioned. We're reducing the average handling time, and even though these issues are more complex or getting more complex, we are actually processing and closing those more quickly. At the same time, we're also improving the way residents can interact with the council. So we have a lot of new smart services coming on stream, including the online payments, a lot more online reports, and we are progressing a customer request management system. You'll note that there's 40 projects that are in various stages of consultation, so have got a lot of interaction with our communities and our residents at the moment. The other highlights are the council has introduced a new digital news channel, and that's involving both council information and information from other organisations. We're also using more images and videos, so these can be picked up and used by other media, and we're also using social media a lot more to interact with people and actually link them into those news channels. That's just the highlights. I don't know if there's any questions.
Glenn.
Thank you. Just the third column, page 23, the actual trans waste dividend. Could someone tell me, please, what that is to Christchurch City?
I might hand that over to the CFO.
Not off the top of my head, no, but we do make sure that we capture the trans waste dividends on an ongoing basis and reflect that into accounts. It reflects our ownership percentage within the organisation, and we get our fair share of it.
39% roughly.
So 39% of the total dividend. Yeah, whatever that. I just had another one too, totally different.
Can we just clarify that?
Sure.
What percentage of the profit is paid by way of dividend?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I've got a board meeting tomorrow. I can have that information for you if you want.
Would be good to know, because we've upped it for all of the other companies, so it would be very good to know.
We do hear continually about the trans waste dividend, but we don't actually have
No,
the
we
figures,
actually don't
so.
hear anything about trans waste except the item in the dividend. We don't get any reports on it.
It's sort of clouded a little bit with the Burwood Recovery Park operation not paying any dividend until the project is completed.
Just the percentage of their operating profit that they pay by way of dividend would be really good to know.
Okay.
Very good. Phil?
Mary, my question is around the Otatahi Community Housing Trust, and I just see in the third paragraph there's reference that the trust is going to be responsible for rent setting, tenancy management, and day-to-day maintenance. Major repairs would stay in the council's domain. So what I'm interested in knowing is, could we expect that there'd also be an income stream at all from the trust to council in terms of depreciation and long-term replacements?
Yes. That's what 80% of the revenue does.
So would come back to council
Yes.
for that?
So under the lease agreement, the vast majority of revenues received, I think currently 80%, goes back to the council by way of the lease agreement.
Thanks for clarifying that, Vicky.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Okay.
Thank you. I have two questions. I follow the field question. This one particularly regarding to Otautahi, the Community Housing Trust. The third paragraph, last sentence. Major repair and rewards would remain in the council domain. So where the funding come from? Whether those budget has been put into the long-term plan?
I think Vicky just answered that.
Yes, there's been two major 50-year plans done by Deloitte's for both the community housing provider and for the city council. The lease allows for roughly 80% of what is received in rents to go to the city council,
Okay, yeah.
and that allows them to do the repair and maintenance and the major upgrade that's needed on almost all of on a large number of the units. They do the major maintenance, as does anybody who's leasing their units, and then the trust operates within the income that it receives and within the capacity to develop the $50 million of land that is transferred over from social housing, no rates impact, and 45 million of that is actually by way of an interest-free loan rather than a grant.
Okay, thank you. Second question is on page 30 regarding the health and the safety issue. If we review this figure, looks like April is much better than the March last month. However, the second the item, the medical injury, we increase 2.5 times. This injury have any the kind of the risk or not? This one is it severe or is it just minor?
Do you know that?
Well, they require medical attention, so they're not.
There's
that
one
minor.
serious harm on the box.
The definitions are the WorkSafe New Zealand definitions, Councillor Chen, so the detail is in the box at the bottom. It will vary, so you can be in hospital overnight, for example, for a sprain, or you can obviously be in hospital overnight and for a long period of time afterwards for a serious injury, so it varies. We've got one lost time injury that is requiring serious and long period of recovery, and that's primarily contributing to the lost time injury statistics.
Okay, thank you.
Where'd I go? Andrew?
Thank you. Just noting the so community engagement on page 25. Two questions, if I can. The first one relates to the Akaroa wastewater project. Thank you to those involved for extending the closing date for this consultation, acknowledging the complex issues and giving people more time to respond. Has that extension impacted at all on the date by which we make the decisions, and has it required an extension to the timing from the Environment Court decision?
I'm not aware of that, and I'll send a memo out I'll check on that and get back to you.
Yep,
get
all
back
right.
to councillors.
Great, thank you. And then the second one, the Sumner-Littleton corridor fencing consultation. Do we know which part of the corridor that's referring to?
No, and again, I'll get back to you with a memo about.
Thank you.
In an email.
David?
Oh, Dave knows.
Yeah, that covers all around the Bunding area. We, when we went out with the first level of consultation, we were doing the bunds, the three areas, Moa Point, just by the Sumner Library. We put fencing around it, and that was quite controversial. The bunds were all right, so we've said to the community, we'll come back with another series of options around how we fence. The issue that you've got is obviously people can't get in behind those bunds because it's still subject to rockfall. So we need fencing to keep it out. What should that fencing look like? We did have a mixture. We had some solid fencing, we had some black fencing which you could see through. I think there was another option, but I can't remember, but we're going back with a number of those options.
Great, thank you.
Vicky?
Just want to clarify something you said, Mary. You said so far this year 7,200 building consents? Totally 2.5 billion in construction.
I think it's 7,188. wasn't
Okay,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Great,
rounding
okay.
it up. Yep.
Thank you. And the second thing was the operational spend, which was going to be, I think you said 37 million lower than what we'd anticipated.
I think that's in the report. I didn't say it. I said it was going to be
okay.
lower. Yep.
Is that the figure that's in the next year's annual plan?
The operational spend this year doesn't impact on next year's
No, I understand that,
result.
but the carry forward?
The where we talk about elements of carry forward in this year's plan, that is reflected in next year's draft annual plan and the long-term plan.
And when I look at them in detail, will they align with that amount of underspend?
The carry forward amounts will. There will be degrees of underspend which are not carry forwards, that are simply savings.
Yeah. From operational,
From operational expense, there are savings.
even though they were budgeted.
Yeah, but we've had a reduction.
I know, but they weren't
Yes.
budgeted, those ones.
Yes, to the extent that we achieve over budget, which we have done in some areas, then those are savings over and above the budget, and that'll be a reduction.
And they will be treated how?
They are not carried forward. Yeah, they simply create a better result this year. And what I would show you on the result for this year is if you look at in the middle column, financial snapshot, and the right-hand side, we've got 3 columns on the right-hand side. The plan was for a net deficit of, let's call it 97 million, and we're looking to achieve a forecast of minus 30 in round figures. So we're achieving better than, or we're going to achieve better than planned by a large degree, but still remember that's a deficit, because we've expected a deficit this year.
I'll take the rest of it. Yeah, thanks.
Yanni?
Thank you. We've obviously had a few stories about skirt in the media recently, but we've also had the OAG report. So my question was really, are we going to get, normally when, I guess a significant report on something that we've got a huge amount of money invested in, is there a process for us to actually get a formal report back in response to the OAG report into the skirt program?
Well, we've invited the Office of the Auditor General to come and brief us on it first,
Right.
and I'm assuming that will then lead to a reporting function coming back through the organisation.
Okay, that's great. And then the second question is the concern over the quality of the skirt repairs that has been in the media. What are we doing as an organisation to ensure that the skirt repairs are up to a certain standard?
Well, we've also, I think you would have read the same article as everyone else that said that we're spending, $100 million on that sealing of the roads.
Right, it's not the question of us.
I don't
I know
think it's an issue about the quality of the skirt repairs. It's actually about what skirt can repair and can't repair within their budget. So basically, there's some areas that people may have thought would have been covered by that budget, and it wasn't. So it's really not the quality. There is a quality assurance process on the work that skirt does.
And I think that if you actually go back to the original, people that signed the cost sharing agreement on our behalf, when I say our, on behalf of the city, that there was an assumption that matters would be covered by the skirt program that in fact have been determined by central government not to be covered.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the scopes and standards. I was more interested in terms of certainly the complaints that I've received and what has come through in the media is it's the quality of the chip seal breaking up almost quite soon after it's laid. So it's not a scopes and standards issue. It's actually the quality of how the roads are being repaired, even though they are being repaired at a much lower standard. That still isn't of satisfactory nature to actually, to have potholes opening up seems really unfortunate.
Have you got an update, David?
I'm sorry, give me the specifics and we can have a look at it, but certainly anything like that is followed through. We do have a closeout non-compliance reporting, and they get tidied up prior to going, so I'm sorry, I can't really answer unless I know the specifics.
Yeah, I think that let's leave it for the reporting back on the SCIRT program, because I mean it is an issue that's been raised with a number of councillors, and
yeah, it's just every time we leave
no,
more
we're
work
not,
gets done
we're
to
not
a
leaving
low
it,
standard
and
that causes concern.
yeah, thank you. So are there any other questions? I just want to make one comment, which is on SnapSend Solve. So as a result of the annual plan process, we had a group of submitters, the Central Residents Association from Riccarton, Central Riccarton Residents Association, came to council. They described an environment which had parking, damage to the local infrastructure, booms, and just a whole range of issues. And they invited myself and the local councillors and...
No, they didn't invite the local councillors.
Oh, they invited Jimmy to come, but he wasn't available. Yeah. They invited Mary Richardson to come, and so we went, and it was an extraordinary walkthrough. I can say that from a community perspective, you know, the way that they conducted the presentation on sort of on site, as it were, was exceptionally well researched and presented, and they didn't have to mock anything because it was there for us to see, and I was taken aback really. So during the course of the walk I came across a dangerous situation which they highlighted to me, that they said had been damaged several times, and the problem was that these water connections were in the wrong place. They were in the footpath and not in the berm closest to the property. And so I SnapSend solved, and it went through to the council the following day. Now, they didn't know that it was the mayor sending it, so the following day I got an immediate response saying that they would look into it. The next day I got an email back from the council saying, "Dear Leanne, this shouldn't be where it is, so we've instructed City Care to go and move them." So actually the problem's really genuinely being solved, and with the system now is enabled to give the feedback to the person who sent it in. So I just want to say a big congratulations. It's absolutely working now, and it's working the way that we wanted it, which was SnapSend solve, but now solve and send the response. So here, well done. Okay, so I'll move that we receive the report, seconded by Tim. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. That's carried.